welcome to the passing back the baton event. My name is Ray Gifford. I am the chairman of the Silicon Flatirons Advisory Board and a senior adjunct fellow at Silicon Flatirons. I am happy to host the CU-Boulder event. It is, I know, an event that Dale Hatfield has been looking forward to. It's also an event that, as we come together tonight, we all collectively do it with heavy hearts, because as I'm sure you all know, that the former dean of the law school, David Getches, passed away just 2 days ago, and David was a great supporter of Silicon Flatirons. We, in many ways, are in this fabulous building because of his efforts. And he was, again, a great supporter of, I think, this law school and of this program. We had discussed among ourselves whether we should go forward tonight, and the definitive answer was David would have wanted this event to go forward tonight, and so we are. Now, 2 years ago, we were in this same courtroom, passing the baton to Dale Hatfield from Phil Weiser as the executive director of Silicon Flatirons. And the question, I think, at that time was not whether or not Dale Hatfield, with both his reputation, his greatness as a teacher, and just general lovableness as a guy, would be able to shepherd Silicon Flatirons through, but whether Silicon Flatirons could survive the departure of its founding motive force, Phil Weiser. And I think the answer 2 years later is it not only survived that departure, but it flourished and became more than simply an institution founded and motivated by one person, but it became a community that all pitched in various ways to help both the entrepreneurial community in Colorado, the regulatory legal community nationally, and not to mention helping students here coming through the program both learn a lot of things and see gainful employment. So in that sense, the passing the baton was a wonderful and defining experience for Silicon Flatirons, because it showed that Silicon Flatirons is an institution that is supported wholly by not just this law school community, but the legal community in Colorado, the legal community in Washington, D.C., and the entrepreneurial community here as well. But I know that I'm not supposed to talk for very long, because Dale Hatfield is counting down minutes until he gets to pass the baton. So with that, I want to call upon one of the key folks who stepped up and has really made the entrepreneurial side of Silicon Flatirons great. And with that, Brad, please.
Thank you, Ray. I'm going to start by talking about Bert Sugar, the boxing writer. I don't know, does anyone know who Bert Sugar is? All right, so very unusual for me. I was in a bar, and I look across at the individual, and he's such a distinctive looking guy. He's got his hat, he's got the cigar. So I turn my wife, that's Bert Sugar. And if this ever happens to you, and if you're in Washington, D.C., there's probably like a 30% chance that Bert Sugar will be in a bar in D.C. while you're there. Buy him a drink and just let him go, because for the next hour and a half, you are going to hear the most unusual boxing stories unwind, stories of being sponsored by a Haitian cigar maker, and it was an awesome night. And at the end of which we do, my wife and I, a top 5 list of most 5 interesting bar conversations we've had, which somehow morphed into the next step, which is the 5 most redeeming lives we've ever been associated with. Now, how we made that connection, you can only see through the bar, but it made a lot of sense. And the easiest person to put on that list was Dale Hatfield. It was the 5 most redeeming lives. And I want to elaborate on that with one particular dimension that goes into it, which is Dale is a teacher, both within and outside the classroom. And I think that's one of the reasons that his service associated with Silicon Flatirons, ITP, and the University of Colorado has been so special, as why is probably many of you are in here, because in many respects, we've all been students of Dale at one point or another. It's also appropriate because of all the things that Dale has passion for out of Silicon Flatirons. The students are the most important thing. Sorry to break your hearts about this, you're not a student, but that is something that's a priority that he's emphasized throughout. And one student reached out to me in advance of tonight's event, and his quote was that the spectrum management course is, quote, by far the most important course I've experienced in my educational career. It's the course that Dale teaches with Brian Tremont, who's here, and I've had the good fortune to be a co-teacher of that as well. In reflecting on Dale as a teacher, there's two distinguishing traits I want to highlight tonight. One is the ability to make the complex simple, and the second is Dale's insistence on learning from students. So first, the ability to make the complex simple. You've probably had this experience of speaking to a professor about his or her research. I won't say Clayton Lewis in particular, and the professor sort of says, this, that, and the other thing, and the subtext is, it's too complicated, you can't understand. I noticed this unfortunate thing happening with me on occasion. Dale is exactly the opposite of that, where it's such deep understanding, and his sense is, you need to understand. Let me help. Let me go to the heart of the matter with elegant explanations, illuminating examples, and with the ability to help you understand what is important about this area. The second defining aspect of Dale as a teacher is that he expects and insists on learning from students. Let me give you a simple example of that in our spectrum management course. We've always required students to do papers. Now, the spectrum course is a 5-week fire hose during the summer, and the students start from zero, so for the first week they're worthless. By week 2, we expect them to start doing leading-edge research, and somehow by the end of week 4, we expect alchemy to occur, and they're going to produce something worthwhile to us. It happens with 3 or 4 of the 15 to 20 papers every year. And I, at different times, said, Dale, I'm not sure that this is worth all the time that we put into it. And Dale's response is something I've always tried to keep in mind, which is, Brad, it's about me. I learn from these papers. These are all the projects that I want to take on, but I don't have time for them. And that ties into some feedback I got from students about Dale as a teacher. First of all, it was the most important lesson I've learned from Professor Hatfield over the past year, and that's influenced my career, is to ask the right question. And these projects are illustrative of Dale helping students ask the right question. And then he expects them to find the answers. Another student sent me an email that said, Dale gave me a chance to prove myself at a point in which I really needed that chance, and helped me a lot with the first steps. I owe my success to Dale. And this is a result of Dale leading people to the right questions, helping giving them guidance, but inspiring the confidence to go do interesting things on their own. And I think this has been such a privilege to work with Dale as a teacher there. One final comment about Dale as a teacher. We take our technology, law, and policy students out to Washington, D.C. for a week every spring semester. And at the Federal Communications Commission, on Capitol Hill, within private firms, they're all really students of Dale's. And the thing that I hear more than anything from those individuals, when I say thank you for meeting with Colorado, thank you for meeting with me, thank you for meeting with our students, the answer is this: anything for Dale. Right? And it's because they've been students of Dale's as well. He's enabled them to ask the right question, them to prove themselves. And so with respect to this dimension, I really ask you to join me in thanking Dale for his superb service as a teacher to students and the rest of us in this room. Thank you, Dale.